Do you believe that one day Kenya will be governed by Africans?
I believe that one day Kenya will be governed by a democratic government, representative and elected by the people. And by the people, I include anybody who decides to make Kenya his home.
In how many years?
Who accepts to be treated as an equal citizen with everybody else.
Kenya government, I urge all our countrymen to reflect calmly on all that has occurred.
British and Belgian governments have been very much involved in the conspiracy in the secession of Katanga. It appears to us, those of us who have looked at the Katanga situation, that the British and Belgian governments, including the French government to some extent, and Portugal, are very much interested in safeguarding the various interests, financial and business interests and mining interests in Katanga, rather than in the protection and safeguarding of the national security and unity of the Congolese people. On the contrary, the United Nations was invited to the Congo by the central government. The United Nations did not intervene until invited, and at present they are acting in the Congo firstly on the advice of the African states at the United Nations, and secondly on the advice and in consultation and cooperation with the central government of the Congo. Our criticism has been that the United Nations has been restrained too much in its actions in Katanga by world powers. That again includes Britain, Belgium, France, who do not wish to see United Nations take decisive action, again because they wish to protect their interests, the interests which are behind Shombe's secessionist tactics.
Tom Mboya of Kenya.
A human struggle. The struggle in Africa is one for nothing less and nothing more than the eradication of poverty, disease, and ignorance. And in this context, you and ourselves are all engaged in the same struggle that can aptly be summarized in terms of a struggle for political freedom, for economic opportunity, and for human dignity. This is my message to you. And I and millions of other people join you today in solidarity for the success of the struggle in which we are all involved. Thank you.
In situation, it is not of our making. For example, most of the good farming land in the highlands was reserved originally for European farmers, so we have to bring Africans into this area. Most of commerce and trade has been monopolized by Asians, and we now have to bring Africans into this area. It cannot just be defined in one word, because it represents a lot of things. It represents, for example, our belief that in Africa, the kind of economic, social, and political institutions that make sense must find their meaning in the African setup. That any new organization which we bring up must be based on some traditional concept to life. It must not just be imported from outside. For example, we are clan-minded, we are tribal-minded, in that we are communal in our concept of life. Now, it is necessary that our new institutions are based on this approach, what we have called in our definition of African socialism, mutual social responsibility. That is, that a person is not just an individual, he's part of a system, he's part of a community. He has responsibilities within the community, has also got responsibility to him. They have duties towards him and his children. This is a very important concept. The other concept is that every person has got equal value and worth.
Although some of our people in traditional life, had a lot of wealth, but their wealth was not really belonging to them as individuals. They held it almost in trust for the rest of the community. And when any of the members of the community got into trouble, or when he wanted cows to pay dowry, he always looked to this as a position which he could also have access to, so that there is this element of acknowledging individuals as equal humans in the community.
To understand all the cold and pitiless motives and expectation of forces that have been at work, I call on all Kenyans to stand together in defense of our nationalism and all that we fought for and have built with our faith and our sweat. For without such understanding and resolve, our people may suffer simply through being manipulated like puppets on a string.